Third,
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
we bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
COMELEC has deferred the proclamation of Duterte Youth and Bagong Generacion party lists in the 2025 midterm elections due to pending petitions.
President Bongbong Marcos is leaving the door open to a possible reconciliation with the Dutertes following the fallout of UNITEAM.
Former OWA Administrator Arnel Ignacio is under fire over an alleged unauthorized 1.4 billion peso land deal.
And motorists may need to bring a lot of patience next week as the rehabilitation of EDSA is set to begin.
The Commission on Elections has suspended the proclamation of party list groups Duterte Youth and Bagong Generacion over pending disqualification cases. The details from Mon Gualvez.
Nominees, their families, and supporters filled the Manila Hotel Tent City to the brim for the proclamation of party list groups. Of over 150 party lists COMELEC certified, only 54 groups were guaranteed a place in 63 seats allotted in the House of Representatives for the 20th Congress.
Sa party list po, ang inabot po na number of votes for the party list ay 41,950,292. Dito po binase ang Banat versus COMELEC, dito po binase ang 2% threshold, dito po binase ang additional seat at dito po binase ang seat na entitled kahit maaaring hindi nakakuha ng 2%. Ang sabi ng Supreme Court sa Banat versus COMELEC, lahat ng seats ay dapat punuan.
Akbayan, Duterte Youth, and Tingog secured 3 seats, while 4Ps, ACT CIS, and Ako Bicol party lists got 2 seats for getting more or less 1 million votes. Groups ranked 7 to 54 get 1 seat each. However, before the proclamation proper, COMELEC read the resolution that 2 party list groups would not be proclaimed due to pending petitions. They are the Duterte Youth and BH or Bagong Generacion party list.
I think po mas unfair kung halimbawa later na proklama ka na, hindi pa nagsisimula yung assumption to office, biglang nagkaroon ng decision, tanggal ka. Mas masakit po yun dahil nagkataasan na ng kamay o tumaas na sa entablado, tapos biglang maaanal pala. Mas maganda po malinis.
In response, Duterte Youth said they had answered all issues against them since 2019, which is why they were allowed to hold their posts in 2019 and 2022. The group said it is elevating the matter to the Supreme Court, threatening COMELEC that if their assumption into office is deferred any longer, they would reveal alleged anomalies within the poll body and Congress. For its part, Bagong Generacion party list said they have not received a copy of the complaint yet, but they are willing to answer any grievances against them. For now, they motion for the COMELEC to urgently push through with their proclamation. Meanwhile, COMELEC reminds party list organizations that failed to win in 2 consecutive polls that they will be automatically delisted. This means they might lose accreditation and will have to reapply if they're considering running again in the next elections. For News 5, Mon Gualvez, we are One News.
Now, let's discuss this further with the Duterte Youth Chairman himself, Ronald Cardema, joining us today via Zoom.
Yes, good morning and welcome to News and Views once again. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning po, sir, ma'am.
All right, with the pronouncement of COMELEC, ano yung plan mo to challenge the alleged grave abuse of discretion? Ano game plan ng Duterte Youth Party List?
Yes, we will go to the Supreme Court po today and we will file a petition dahil napakaklaro naman po ng grave abuse of discretion. Alam nyo, napakaraming decision yung COMELEC for the past years na kapag niraise sa Supreme Court, around 70% of those cases talagang dinedeclare ng Supreme Court na grave abuse of discretion. Ito talagang klarong-klaro, kahit hindi ka abogado. Paano nangyari na discretion na lang ng COMELEC kung kailan sila magpoproklama? Nasa mismong rules ng COMELEC na kapag meron kang pending issue sa COMELEC at wala namang finality, walang decision, any proclamation will push through. Nasa rules mismo nila. So, we are challenging this decision of COMELEC yesterday na hindi kami iproklama kahapon. And makikita ng Supreme Court yan na grave abuse of discretion na naman yan. Alam nyo, masabi ko sa inyo, sinabihan lang kami 4 hours before proclamation na hindi kami kasali. Kung sinabi nila last week yan, na-challenge pa namin sa Supreme Court yan eh. Sinadya nila na mismong a few hours before the proclamation ginawa.
So ano po sa tingin po yung reason behind this, na yung allegation po ninyo na sinadya po nila?
Unang-una, syempre, sino bang nagfa-file ng impeachment complaint laban sa Pangulong Bongbong Marcos? Duterte Youth, di ba? Pangalawa, ang Duterte Youth, syempre, nakikita dito na napakaraming Pilipino ay Duterte supporters pa rin dahil nag-number 2 nga sa buong Pilipinas yung Duterte Youth eh. Alam nyo, pag tiningnan nyo yung local absentee voting ng ating mga pulis at sundalo, ang pinakabinoto ng ating mga pulis at sundalo ay Duterte Youth Party List. Pag tiningnan mo yung OFW voting sa iba't ibang bansa, US man yan, Middle East, Hong Kong, Japan, yung mga malalaking population ng OFWs, lahat Duterte Youth Party List ang number 1 sa kanilang area. And dito sa bansa natin, more than 2 million voted for Duterte Youth Party List. Ang masabi natin dyan, nakalagay lang kasi dun sa memo nila kahapon na due to serious allegations since 2019, hindi muna isasama sa proclamation kami kahapon. Masabi ko sa Supreme Court mamaya, if that was really that serious, bakit tumagal ng lampas kalahating dekada yung kaso?
Yun nga ho
Noong 2022, nanalo rin naman kami, hindi naman binanggit sa amin yan. Akala nga namin dinismiss na kasi napakawalang kwenta ng kaso. Masabi ko sa inyo kung ano yung kaso ha.
Yun nga po, bigyan po natin ng context yung balita na ito kasi marami po nagtatanong, ano po ba yung kaso noong 2019? Sino po yung nag-file? What was the reason behind it? Go ahead po.
Yes, it was filed in 2019 by Kabataan Party List after we won. Ang sinasabi nilang una, nag-vote buying daw yung Duterte Youth Party List. So sabi ko, paano mangyayari yung kahit piso hindi kami naglalabas para bumili ng boto? Kasi daw, sa speech ko, sabi ko daw, kapag kami sa Duterte Youth Party List ay nanalo, lahat ng aming pondo ay ibibigay namin sa taong bayan. Wala kaming kukurakutin kahit piso. Imagine that. Sa dami ng tunay na vote buyer na congressman, mayor at gobernador sa Pilipinas, kinasuhan kami doon ng vote buying. Kami lang nakasuhan ng vote buying dyan sa National Office ng COMELEC. Patungkol lang doon sa sinabi namin na hindi kami mangungurakot, lahat ng aming pondo ibibigay namin sa taong bayan. Yun na yung vote buying na case namin. Pangalawa, sinabi ko rin sa speech ko noong 2019, kapag kami nanalo, debatihin namin kayo hanggang maubos kayo sa Kongreso. Kasi mahilig tayo makipagdebate eh. Ang ibig ko sabihin nun, yung katulad ng ginawa namin kay Bayan Muna, dinebate namin ng dinebate hanggang natalo sila sa Kongreso. Alam niyo yung kaso sa amin? Kinuha yung paragraph na yon, sinabi hanggang maubos kayo sa Kongreso, meaning Duterte Youth Party List is promoting mass murder in the Philippines. Diyos ko, kahit naman hindi abogado, ordinaryong Pilipino, makikitang house show yung mga kaso. So yan yung mga kinaso sa amin. Pangatlong kinakaso sa amin, hindi daw kami rehistrado sa COMELEC. Yan pa isang napaka-bobong rhetoric. Alam nyo, nung 2019 hanggang 2022, kalaban ko yung senior commissioner ng COMELEC. Hindi kami nakakapuntang COMELEC. Si Rowena Guanzon. Paano mangyayaring, hindi kami rehistrado, hindi na kami talaga pinaupo ng kalaban namin. Hindi totoo yung hindi kami rehistrado. Ano ba yun?
Okay. I was reading the reports also, going back to 2019, ang nag-file po ng inyong kaso ay ang Kabataan Tayo ang Pag-asa. At ang petitioner na po nito ay nagsasabi na ang Duterte Youth Registration is void ab initio, or ibig sabihin void from the beginning kasi hindi naman daw po kayo legitimate representative ng mga kabataan. So yun po yung parang pinangahawakan nila na pinush po nila ulit noong March 2025.
Yes, alam nyo, niraise nila yan after marehistro ang Duterte Youth Party List and after manalo. And ang ginawa nila dyan, nung mapoproclaim na kami ng COMELEC, niraise nila sa Supreme Court yan. Alam nyo ginawa ng Supreme Court? Within 3 weeks, hindi na kami pinatawag na Supreme Court, dinismiss outright ng Korte Suprema and Bank. Bakit? There is no basis daw dyan sa sinasabi nila. Ang totoo dyan, nag-forum shopping sila. Pending yung kaso nila sa COMELEC. Dahil uupo na kami, niraise nila sa Supreme Court, sinipa sila ng Supreme Court. Kaya simula 2020 hanggang 2025, wala ka nang narinig sa kanila kasi dinismiss sila ng Supreme Court. Bumalik lang sila uli nung biglang nag-number 1 sa survey ang Duterte Youth Party List nung 3rd week of March. nung 4th week of March, biglang sinasabi nila, hindi pwedeng makaupo, may kaso pa. So, timing lang ng timing. Noong 2022, wala naman silang nire-raise.
Okay. Doon po sa may last na po, no, before I turn this over to Diego, doon po sa isang report po namin nakasabi po sa inyo na meron daw po kayong, kumbaga, pag-threaten sa COMELEC, kung hindi daw po kayo pagbibigyan pa upuin, ay isisiwalat po ninyo yung allegation po ninyo, no, na may mga anomalya sa Kongreso at sa COMELEC. Why don't we just do it right now? Bakit daw po antayin pa natin? Bakit may mga pag-threaten pa na nangyari? Bakit hindi nyo daw po isiwalat na mismo ngayon yung ginagawa allegedly ng Kongreso at ng COMELEC na anomalya?
Alam nyo, ang Duterte Youth Party List, kaisa-isang miyembro ng Kongreso na nagbabalik ng death penalty para sa plunder, para sa heinous crimes, at para sa mga teroristang FPA. Ibig sabihin, on our own way, ginagawa namin ng paraan yan. Yung mga alam nating napakalaking mga korupsyon at pandarampok sa gobyerno. Hindi namin kaya talaga i-dismantle yan mag-isa. Diba? Kaya ginagawa namin ng paraan kung ano yung posisyon na binigay sa amin ng taong bayan bilang kongresista. Ang problema, every 3 years na nga lang na may pruweba na democratic country tayo, kasi every 3 years ka lang pwedeng bumoto, kami na binoto ng taong bayan para magpatuloy magsalita at kumatawan sa taong bayan, ayaw pang paupuin. Di ba? Kaya sinasabi ko dyan sa mga nasa Kongreso at nasa COMELEC, alam ko inuutusan lang yung COMELEC eh. Bakit? Kapag kami dinisqualify, ang makaka-benefit ay yung nasa ilalim ng party list system, Gabriela, nasa pinakailalim, hindi nakaupo. So pag kami tinanggal, makakaupo yung Gabriela. So masabi ko dyan, it is
Who do you think,
parang,
sino po sa tingin
yes?
nyo yung may gusto sa Gabriela na makaupo instead kayo?
Hindi, grupo-grupo na yan. Siyempre kaaway namin itong mga makakaliwang grupo, kaaway namin yung administrasyon. Siyempre, they will all benefit kung wala yung Duterte Youth Party List. So ang masabi ko lang naman dyan, hindi naman to yung katulad ng away namin ni Rowena Guanzon, na away lang namin yun eh. Di ba? Nagpunta kami Supreme Court, natalo ko si Rowena Guanzon sa Supreme Court. Ito, involved ang lampas 2 milyong Pilipino na bumoto. Di ba? Ang sinasabi sa atin ng COMELEC, every election time, napakahalaga ng kada isang boto, the sanctity of the ballot and everything. Ito, ibinoto na ng 2 milyong Pilipino, ayaw nyo pang paupuin. Kaya sabi ko, kung ganyan rin naman pala, ang treatment ninyo sa democratic processes ng ating bansa, talagang kino-corner nyo kami. Sasabihin ko lahat ng anomalya na alam ko dyan sa COMELEC, mga bentahan ng party list dyan, mga bentahan ng desisyon dyan, at dito sa Kongreso natin, sasabihin ko sa inyo kung paano marami dyan ay kumikita sa mga proyekto. Alam nyo, hindi kami kasali dyan. Hindi kami kasali sa pondo ng Kongreso. Baka hindi nyo alam. Hindi kami binibigyan ng pondo. Pero masabi ko dyan, kasi masasabi dyan, hearsay lang eh. Pero kapag yun ang pinag-uusapan ng lahat ng politiko sa bansa na nakakahalubilo namin, pare, ganito yung bentahan ng desisyon dyan. Pare, ganito yung kita dito sa mga proyekto sa Kongreso. So, hearsay talaga yun kasi kinuwento ng napakaraming kongresista sa amin at napakaraming taga-COMELEC sa amin. Kaya lang kung ganyan lang rin na kino-corner nyo kami, sasabihin na namin kahit hearsay para ma-realize ng mga Pilipino kung paano pinagtutulungan ang pondo ng taong bayan.
Pero Ronald, sabi nga nila, why wait for being cornered? Since meron na po kayo daw alam, if you have some evidence held, why don't you just file a case na lang daw against, against COMELEC? It's because you're supposedly against institutional corruption, so might as well take down the corruption already, immediately. Diba? Para hindi na daw maapektuhan. Yung reklamo kasi ng iba, ba't ngayon lang daw sana lumabas? Sana before,
hindi pa kayo nasukol.
Sana before election na lang para hindi daw umabot sa ganito.
Hindi. Kami nga ang nagbabalik kaisa-isang nagbabalik ng death penalty para sa plunder. Kung kami plunderer o kurakot di siyempre takot rin namin.
Yeah.
Yun ang ginagawa naming paraan kasi hindi mo naman talaga kayang pabaksakin yung buong sistema. 'Di ba? Ang hirap Nag-iisa ka lang. Kanina in-interview nga ako doon sa kabilang channel. Yung nag-i-interview sa akin, sabi sa akin Sir, ba't ngayon nyo lang sinabi yan? Sino ho ba? Sabi ko, Sir, dati rin kayong kongresista kaya alam nyo yan. Tapos tinigil na yung interview.
Oh, without,
Kumbaga, ano yan it is a very systematic way na baka magulat kayo.
without naming
Kung
names, Ronald, ano yung mga style na sinasabi sa iyo ng style of corruption within the COMELEC?
Di nasabi ko na. Yung sabi kong... basta ang sinasabi ko sa inyo, ang inyong Duterte Youth Party List, ang kaisa-isang nagpupush dito sa mga investigasyon ng pandarambong sa ating bansa. Alam nyo, ngayon ko lang naisip-isip, sa dami-dami ng politiko at kandidato na may kasong korupsyon, malversation of funds, plunder, bakit sila? Hindi ganun ka-serious yung mga yung iba dyan convicted na nga. Bakit sila hindi na-hold yung proclamation? Bakit kami na wala naman talaga kaming kasalanan, vote buying yung kaso, hindi naman talaga kami nagbumili ng boto kahit piso. Kami yung lumalaban sa teroristang NPA, kami yung kinasuhan ng promoting violence. Mga ganyang kaso ba? Bakit yung amin yung nagpa-hold pa sa amin? Bakit yung mga totoong bumibili ng boto, kumukurakot ng bilyong-bilyong pondo sa gobyerno, bakit sila hindi man lang hinold?
Okay. Chairman, the COMELEC po clarified na itong suspension of proclamation doesn't mean na kayo po ay talo, doesn't mean na hindi na po talaga kayo mapoproklama. Yun po ay ibig sabihin lamang, iniimbestigahan pa lamang. Why don't we just wait daw and wait for the investigation until before June 30 bago po daw tayo, alam niyo na, mag-ingay ng ganito. Antahin natin yung decision na total. COMELEC is the authority of this.
That is crazy. Why? The last hearing on our case was December 18, 2019. That was, parang magsi 6 years na. So para sabihin mo ngayon, nananalo na naman kami na, hindi, antayin nyo lang matapos yung kaso.
Don't you think COMELEC will be fair to you? Don't you think COMELEC will be fair?
Sa tingin namin, we cannot assume on that, but what I can assume on is there is grave abuse of discretion. Bakit? Meron kang house-show na kaso na noong 2019 pa, nung hindi kami kalaban ng administrasyon, hindi binanggit yan noong 2022 election. Pero ngayong kami ay kalaban ng administrasyon, imamarka sa amin na, nako, very serious yung allegation sa inyo, kaya hinto muna yung proclamation. How serious is that? Ang daming mandarambong sa Pilipinas, ang daming vote buyer ngayong eleksyon na ito, wala man lang na-hold yung proclamation nila. Ang na-hold yung mismo lumalaban sa kurakot at sa sa mga kalokohan ng terorista sa ating bansa.
Ronald, linawin ko lang, sabi mo last hearing mo with COMELEC was December, no? Tama ba 'yon?
Regarding that case na pinang-hold sa amin
so in other words,
December 18.
December
2019.
18. Okay. So mula nung last hearing nyo until at least man lang after nakuha nyo yung resulta ng election, wala man lang isang communication ang COMELEC sa inyo regarding na may possibility na baka masuspend ang inyong proclamation. In other words, you were blindsided? Is that what you're saying?
Wala. Oo. Alam nyo, we just came in from another country yesterday just to attend the proclamation. Talaga umuwi kami galing sa ibang bansa kahapon. And pagdating namin ng 12 noon, magbabarong na lang kami, pupunta na kami proclamation. Saka lang in-email sa amin na hindi kami kasali. Alam nyo, kung sinabihan kami early last week, di na-challenge pa namin yon. Talagang sinadya nila na kahapon banggitin. Kasi wala nang oras i-challenge
Oo. Lastly, your Duterte Youth is not the only one na nasuspend yung kanilang proclamation. Meron din pong BH o yung bagong henerasyon. So, hindi po ba natin may isip to na hindi naman po kayo talaga nasi-single out because hindi lang naman kayo yung nasuspende?
Nakausap ko si Congresswoman BH Bernadette Herrera di kahapon. Meron lang daw nag-file sa kanila ng kaso last week after election at hindi pa nga nila nakikita yung mismong complaint. Ayan, hinold rin sila. So, bakit may discretion, abuse of discretion? Di sana lahat na may kaso, hinold na. Kung wala kang abuse of discretion mo, di ba? Yung parang mandatory. Kapag may kaso ka, hold ka muna, di ba? Bakit nasa discretion ng COMELEC na, hindi, itong dalawang to may kaso, ito muna yung tigil. Yung ibang may kaso ng korupsyon, kaso ng vote buying, meron dyan, si Congresswoman De Lima, may kaso nga kaka-reverse lang ng Court of Appeals sa kaso sa kanya and others pa na may kaso, bakit wala man lang na-hold? Mas serious naman yung mga kaso nila.
So, linawin lang po natin para sa ating mga kapatid, bago po matapos ang linggong ito, cases will be filed by your team. At kasama na rin po ba dito yung pag-push po ninyo ng impeachment complaint kay against PBBM?
Unang-una, mamaya na yung filing namin ng petition sa Supreme Court regarding this grave abuse of discretion ng COMELEC kahapon. Pangalawa, just the impeachment complaint namin na ayaw tanggapin na last week sa Kongreso, ang sinuggest namin ng napakaraming tao, i-file na lang daw sa opening ng 20th Congress para
Congress,
hindi daw makilala mo, i-accept ngayon tapos sabihin, dismiss namin yan, wala na, may 1 year ban na. So yun ang advice namin ng napakaraming tao.
Pero yun, hindi pa natin sure kung makakaupo kayo ng 20th Congress. That's the question. Alright?
Yes, pero dito nyo ma-realize na paano nangyari na ang isang ibinoto ay hindi nakakaupo dito sa ating bansa, di ba? Lalo na kami, kaaway namin, tong Kabataan Party List, hindi nga sila naka 2% ng boto, di ba? Binigyan lang sila ng consideration na kahit hindi sila naka 2%, yun ang requirement para makaupo sa party list system, 2% ng boto, kahit hindi sila naka 2%, binigyan sila ng tsansa. Tapos kami na talagang milyon-milyon yung boto, ayaw pa upuin at daming sinasabi.
Alright, we will continue to get in touch with you. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Duterte Youth Chairman Ronald Cardema. Maraming salamat.
Thank you po for this opportunity. God bless po.
Now, meanwhile, COMELEC Chairman George Garcia led the inspection of disposed campaign materials at the Payatas Controlled Disposal Facility this morning. For the details, we have mobile journalist Merimon Reyes live on the ground. Hey Merimon, ano nang nangyayari dyan ngayon?
Magandang umaga sa inyo. Dito ngayon, saktong-sakto lang, dumating ulit ang truck ng QC Department of Sanitation na bitbit nila yung ilan pa sa mga nilikpit nila na election campaign materials. At kaninang umaga nga dumating dito ang COMELEC, kasama rin dito ang representatives mula nga sa QC-LGU para makita yung mga naipon at mga nakolekta nga na mga paraphernalia. Ang nasabi sa atin ni Sir Richard Santuile, na head ng QC Department of Sanitation, nasa 20% na lang daw ng QC ang kailangan pa nilang ligpitan nitong mga campaign paraphernalia. Pero ang mga tinitingnan nito, mga eskinita, and yung mga private properties naman, syempre wala silang touch dito. Pero ang ginagawa nila dito is ini-encourage nila ang mga ito sa pamamagitan din ng mga barangay officials na ligpitin na rin itong kanilang mga poster. At itong nakikita nyo sa likuran ko, bahagi lang ito nung sinasabi ni COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia na 64.5 tons na naipon na so far sa Metro Manila. Mukha lang siyang kaunti, pero kung aakyatin natin itong pile na ito, halos bundok na rin talaga yung sitwasyon dito. And so far, tinutuloy-tuloy pa rin naman daw yung kanilang pagliligpit at nilinaw din ito sa atin kanina na itong mga campaign posters na nandito ay nagmula doon sa baklas, Oplan Baklas ng COMELEC. So kasama dito yung mga illegal posters na kinabit sa mga non-poster areas. And kasama rin dito yung ilan sa mga tinanggal sa 5-day prescription period ng COMELEC na after the day of the elections, dapat tanggalin na rin ng mga nangangandidato, senador man yan, o konsehal, o ng mga partido yung kanilang campaign paraphernalia. So yung iba raw mga partido na yun, dito na rin daw nila inimbak yung kanilang mga poster. Ang masaklap lang din na naobserbahan nga dito at nasabi nga base sa lab test na ginawa ng Eco Waste Coalition, mataas ang toxicity level nitong mga campaign paraphernalia. Kaya medyo problemado pa rin talaga dito ang COMELEC. Kasi nga sinasabi, dapat ang gagamitin talaga dito is biodegradable materials, mga papel. Pero plastic, pwede rin mga goma ang ginagamit sa mga ito. So ang pinaka-alternative solution nila sa sandamakmak na campaign na paraphernalia na ito ay i-recycle at i-upcycle nila ito. Ang QC-LGU, makikipag-cooperate sila sa mga small businesses or organizations na merong programa kung saan tuturuan daw nila yung persons deprived of liberty na gumupit at gagawin nga itong tote bags, eco bags o kaya naman daw ay mga bayong.
Pero meron looking at yung bundok na yan na sinabi mo, no? Mukhang hindi kasi segregated yung I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Baka is it segregated kasi pag kung naghalo ang paper, plastic and wood, iba-iba, no? Parang mahirap ihiwalay kung ano yung pwedeng i-upcycle or ano yung dapat sunugin ba or ililibing?
Tama yan, Angelo. Ang nasabi sa atin kanina, etong mga to pending pa to sa sorting. So ang gagawin nila, yung mga buo pa, halimbawa, hanap tayo dito. Yung mga buo pa, yung nakakabit pa sa kanilang mga kahoy o kawayan, yan, buo pa raw yan. Matik, magagamit daw yan para doon sa upcycling. Pero yung mga tagpi-tagpi na, mga punit-punit na, baga hindi na raw mare-restore, unfortunately, madadala na raw yan sa mga landfills natin. Pero etong mga to, plus yung mga ihahabol pa raw dito at posible sa mga susunod na araw, isa-sort out ba daw ito?
So meron landfill, so kahit plastic yan, ipapasok sa landfill yan. Yun ang sinasabi mo kanina na magiging problema yung toxicity level yan.
Oo, totoo yan. Kaya bubusisiin daw nila yung pagsusort sa mga ito at para makita nila kung paano nga ba i-recycle ang mga ito, lalong-lalo na yung mga tagpi-tagpi na. Ang nasabi rin sa atin ng QCLGU kanina para raw masiguro na pag na-upcycle ito into tote bags, hindi raw ito makaka-intoxicate ng mga gaga.
Ako, nawalan ng signal. Mary Mon! Yun, nawalan.
Nawala, sayang, maganda yung...
For ito bibili nitong mga eco bags, lilinisin daw nila ito. Plus, mayroon daw silang ilalagay pa na additional.
Medyo nawawala
Yan,
tayo. Mary Mon.
Okay na ata, Mary Mon. Okay ka na.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yan. So pagkatapos nga raw nila linisan ng mga ito, lalagyan pa raw nila ng isa pang layer. Hindi lang para matakpan yung mukha ng mga nasa tarpaulins na ito, kundi para rin daw sa, syempre, sa aesthetic, at the same time yung safety rin daw ng mga gagamit nito. So guaranteed naman daw na malilinis ang mga ito, plus yung another layer. So safe to use naman daw para sa mga bibili ng upcycled na mga tote bags.
Ako siguro, Mary Mon, bago tayo pumunta sa iba pang topic ng eleksyon, meron bang timeline dyan para mawala agad yung mga basura na yan, yung bundok ng basura na nasa likod? But I'm sure, mas dadami pa yan kasi hindi pa naman lahat ng areas ay covered sa inspection ng COMELEC chairman, right?
Tip of the iceberg lang yan.
Tama, Angela, kasi nga ang isa pa sa nagustuhan naman ng COMELEC dito is initiative kasi ito ng QCLGU. Kaya hinihikayat din ngayon ng COMELEC para mas mabilis daw na maligpit ang mga ito, magkaroon na rin ng call of action para daw sa lahat. So hindi lang sa mga LGU, kundi pati na raw mismo sa mga nangangandidato, even daw sa mga may-ari ng mga private properties na nagpaskill din mismo ng mga sinusuportahan talagang nilang mga nangangandidato. Pero pagdating doon, kasi nasabi rin sa atin kanina, na meron na rin daw silang mga final na petition for disqualification o kaya naman ay election offenses para sa mga lumabag doon sa sinasabi nating period of 5 days ng pagtanggal. At the same time, yung mga naipon nga ng mga kaso kung saan itong kandidato na to, kaya naman yung partido ay nagkabit ng kanilang election na paraphernalia sa non-poster area. So far, marami-rami pang aasikasuhin until June 30 itong COMELEC. Kasama na rin dito yung dalawang sinuspend muna na proclamation ng mga partidong nagwagi.
Dapat ang naglilinis dyan ngayon, nakikita natin yung mismo mga kandidato na nagkalat ng kanilang mga election paraphernalias. Dapat sila yung nakikita natin dyan di ba? Hindi nila inuutos. Anyway, Mary Mon, tanong lang namin, kumusta naman yung mga proclamation ng winning party list groups yesterday?
Nako, Angela, masaya-saya naman. Kayon nga lang, meron kasing dalawang party list na sinuspend muna nila o pinagpaliban muna yung kanilang proclamation dahil nga sa pending cases. And nung umaga kasi nung nagkaroon ng press conference kasama nga si Chairman Garcia, hindi niya pa name drop yung dalawang yon. Pero ang naging clue niya lang daw is yung isa dito ay may nakuhang 3 seats sa House. Samantala yung pangalawang partido naman daw 1 seat lang. So since meron lang naman 3 party list na nakakuha ng 3 seats sa House, medyo maninitpick na natin kung sino nga ba doon. Pero nung binasa na rin yung resolution, yun na nga, nasabi na nga, ito nga yung Duterte Youth Party List, pati rin yung bagong henerasyon party list. And so far, ang nasabi sa atin din kanina dito, nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataon na makausap si Chairman Garcia. Tututukan naman na raw nila yung kaso nito. Kasi isa daw sa tinitignan na problema dito sa Duterte Youth Party List is yung case nila na 2019 pa raw nagsimula. So lumipas na ng 5 years ito, tumakbo siya. Ang nasabi naman ni Chairman Garcia dito, ayaw niya naman daw na mag-point fingers. Pero ang sigurado naman daw sila, kaya daw nila sinuspend muna yung proclamation. Hindi naman daw nito nakakansela kung manunungkulan ba ang Duterte Youth Party List. Pero once na ma-resolve na nila itong pending case, mas okay daw yun, mas maganda raw yun na tsaka na lang daw manungkulan itong partido. Pero so far, yun pa lang yung mga detalye na meron tayo at aabangan muna natin kasi ayaw pa raw munang ma-preempt ni Chairman Garcia yung magiging hakbangin ng COMELEC kasi isa pa sa mga inaabangan dyan, kung sakaling ito bang dalawang suspended proclamation, yung kaso nila, for example, ibig sabihin nito, hindi na talaga pwedeng manungkulan sa House of Representatives itong dalawang partido, aangat daw ba yung nasa dulo ng listahan? So far, ang sabi nga dyan ni Chairman Garcia, wala pa raw. Ang gagawin muna daw nila ngayon bago mag-June 30 is i-resolve muna nila itong dalawang pending case and then we'll go from there na lang daw.
Alright, sige, maraming salamat sa iyong oras sa MOBA journalist Merimon Reyes. Ano kasi, parang 2019 yung nag-start. At that time, ang COMELEC chairman ay si, may he rest in peace, Sixto Brillantes.
Si Sixto Brillantes.
Oo, at
pero
that
sabi
time,
naman ni Chairman Garcia, he doesn't want to point fingers.
It's just 2022 that, siya na yata no?
It's just that may implications kasi. Tama no, si Mary Juan, na ngayon ko naisip. Pag if ever lang may nangyari at tuluyan na suspend o na cancel yung pagpapanalo nila, may implications sa count yun because the Duterte youth...
Sabi ni Cardema kanina, aangat ang Gabriela.
May tatlong seat yun. So that means 3 more party lists are going up. So let's see also sa BH. But sabi ni Chairman George, di ba, they'll strive to finish it by June 30 ba? June 30.
So I was looking at the timeline. 2019, si Chairman Sixto Brillantes yung chairman at that time. Tapos he passed away. Tapos 2022, di ba, si Chairman George Garcia na. Tapos parang na-stall na yung case na yan. Until nung March 2025, pinush ulit nung nag-file ng case, yung KTAP, yung Kabataan ng Pag-asa, yung mga petitioners. That's why na-relieve yung kaso. Alright.
After all the back and forth, President Bongbong Marcos expresses willingness to reconcile with the Dutertes. Here's our report.
On the first episode of his podcast, the president said he would rather work together with political opponents, including the Dutertes, than, quote, prolong division that distracts from governance. The chief executive also said he values stability and friendship over conflict.
Ako, ayoko ng gulo. Gusto ko makasundo sa lahat ng tao. Mas maganda, marami na akong kaaway. Hindi ko kailangan ng kaaway. Kailangan ko kaibigan. Ang habol ko ay yung stability, peaceful, para magawa namin yung trabaho namin. Kaya ako, laging akong bukas sa ganyan.
President Marcos added that he does not need to see eye to eye with critics and allies alike. If there's disagreement over policy matters, he believes this should not prevent dialogue or cooperation.
Laging akong bukas sa ganyan. I'm always open to any approach na, alika, magtulungan tayo. Diba? Kahit hindi tayo magkasundo sa polisiya, hindi tayo magkasundo. Gawin nyo yung trabaho pero wag na tayong nanggugulo. Wag na natin, tanggalin natin yung gulo.
The president likewise vowed not to meddle in the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte.
Pabayaan natin ang proseso. Ako, basta ang nasa isip ko, tapos ng eleksyon, balik sa trabaho. Gawin na natin lahat with the new lessons learned.
The chief executive also shared his learnings from the recent midterm elections. He admitted to the realization that some may be disappointed over the government.
Disappointed ang tao sa serbisyo ng gobyerno. Hindi nila nararamdaman at masyadong mabagal ang galaw ng pagbubuo ng mga project na hindi pa nila maramdaman.
Still, Marcos assured the Filipino people that his administration is listening to their calls.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Contradaya reveals that 6 out of every 10 incoming party list representatives in the 20th Congress do not represent the marginalized. The group also flagged 40 representatives for having ties to political dynasties, big businesses, or military and police interests. Now, to discuss this, we have Contradaya convener, Professor Danilo Arao. Hi, Prof. Thanks for joining us again.
Yes, good morning. Prof. Good morning.
Contradayang umaga. Thank you, Angela and Diego, for having me here. Nice to see you both again.
Yes, likewise po. So anyway, your statement po yesterday regarding these party lists, can you tell us more about it?
We've flagged, as you correctly mentioned, 40 of the party list nominees because they are said to belong to certain party list groups that we flagged in the past. So 40 out of 63, that would be 63.49%. Or roughly, as you correctly noted, 6 out of 10. this is symptomatic, Angela and Diego, of the problem with the party list system because it has been hijacked and bastardized by the rich and powerful. Let us stress the obvious. 63 seats, they are a minority in the House of Representatives. Under ordinary circumstances, we would expect the rich and powerful to just simply give way and provide those 63 seats to the rich and powerful because they are in the minority anyway. But because of greed, but because of audacity, because of impunity on their part, they decided to send a strong message to the marginalized that, okay, what is for you is also for us. So they are further consolidating their power, their wealth, and influence by hijacking the party list system, which is very, very unfortunate.
Yes, Prof. So, linawin natin, no? It's the nominees mismo ang hinahabol natin. So, kasi Prof, there was, of course, you know about yung Supreme Court ruling saying na kahit may advocacy ka, pwede. Now, we were speaking yesterday to, I think, Attorney Michael Yusinko about this, and it's very gray area kasi sa Supreme Court decision about advocacy, no? Hindi naman nakadetermine kung anong advocacy. Do you plan to not challenge, but at least file to seek a remedy for this, to define what do you mean by advocacy, para pag malinaw na ako ng advocacy, di matutuntun natin kung sino talaga ang pwedeng maging nominee?
Yes, there are two ways by which this can be done. One is through judicial intervention by asking the Supreme Court, for example, to review its decision way back in 2013, which opened the floodgates for the rich and powerful to make or to reduce the party list system into its virtual playground. But the other option would also be legislative intervention. It has been done in the past where certain legislative measures have been filed seeking to reform the Party List System Act of 1995, but these have gathered dust in Congress, and without much public pressure, we can expect the same thing to happen in the 20th Congress. So Angela and Diego, what we're trying to say here is that much as we would want to use legislative and judicial interventions, what would be decisive here would be stronger public pressure so that the rich and powerful, in the case of Congress, would be forced to do something that would go against their own interests. Because under ordinary circumstances, you cannot expect the rich and powerful to give up their virtual playground, which is the party list system.
Tama ka dun, Prof. Kasi look at the makeup of the party list. If you're going to seek legislative intervention, they make up majority of the party list. Siguro. So at least siguro, are you trying to say na with public pressure, possibly in the future, may possible na magsisik kayo ng judicial intervention?
Yes, both can be explored. And let me just clarify that it's not just Contra Daya. There are concerned groups and individuals who share the same thing, who make the same demands. So it's possible it won't be us, but it can be done either way in the near future. What I just want to say is that we don't want to preempt whatever strategies we may have in mind. Kumbaga sa isang telenovela, abangan na lang po yung susunod na kabanata. But rest assured, what we can assure the public right now is that we would not let this pass. We will not let it go, and we will continue the fight.
Right. Prof, kasi yun nga sinasabi natin, until na merong legislative measure dito, we will still abide doon sa Supreme Court ruling, yung sinasabi ng atong Paglawan versus Comelec, yung merely advocacy is enough. Pero recently may sinabi po ang Comelec saying ayuda or teleserye sounding names will no longer be allowed sa susunod na registration ng election. Do you think Comelec is doing enough po to address yung mga nakikita po natin problema, mga loopholes ng party list system natin?
Okay, two important things. First, we welcome the Comelec's decision, no matter how late it may have arrived, as regards the naming or branding of certain party list groups after certain popular telenovelas or even popular government programs, especially the ones that refer to ayuda or financial assistance. However, let me just say that for Contra Daya, we do not accept the argument that we will just simply abide by the law because that is the law. Remember that the COMELEC has quasi-judicial function and it can try to interpret the law and provide an alternative reading of the law in such a way that we can protect the marginalized and underrepresented. So it can do that through certain interventions like the one that you mentioned, which was decided upon by the COMELEC a few days ago regarding the renaming. They can do that. So let me stress that particular point. Number two, much as we want an anti-dynasty law and much as we want a reformed party list system act, the COMELEC should find more creative ways by which they will make a more careful reading of the law so that the rich and powerful will not further marginalize the marginalized sectors of society, and they should benefit from the party list law, which is solely intended for them.
So kumbaga, kumbaga Prof, sinasabi mo, COMELEC should try and flex its muscles muna until it is challenged. Kasi Prof, somebody raised this issue na the mere fact daw na the COMELEC is asking people na sa next time na lang hindi ko tatanggapin yung name na to. That means these supposed party lists are choosing their names kung ano yung akma sa pwedeng ipanalo. That's the mere fact na walang solid advocacy behind it, because if you have a solid advocacy, hindi ka mamimili ng name eh. You will choose a name regardless kung ano yung market reaction, kung ano yung advocacy mo. So, yung pa lang dapat hindi ba, Prof, the COMELEC should have seen that na, wait a minute, wala kang advocacy kung namimili ka ng pangalan.
Yes, that's correct. And that's one way of looking at it and to criticize the COMELEC for certain inadequacies when it comes to naming. Actually, if you recall, Angela and Diego, once upon a time, the names of party list groups were alphabetical. So the numbers were not done through lottery. But what happened then? So there were party list groups that were named 1A, so that they will be on top of the list,
of the ballot,
yeah. That's what happened in the past. So in other words, let's try to be fair. Sometimes the COMELEC may not be able to anticipate that because there are certain nefarious characters who try to game the system, so to speak. So right now, what's being done is through lottery. If you got number one, okay, good for you. You should be lucky for this particular election cycle. So, you know, those things would have to be clearly anticipated. And we have a situation through the years where there are so many party list groups, and majority of them, based on our flagging, are quite dubious in character, in the sense that they do not represent the sector that they claim to champion. So that's why there has to be a better way to filter the undesirables.
Okay. Alam mo, Prof, ang dami pa namin gustong itanong sa'yo, but unfortunately, we don't have much time. But hopefully, we can still have you again on the show when you are free. For the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Contra Daya Convener, Professor Danilo Arao. Magandang umaga.
Salamat, Contra Dayang umaga sa lahat.
Meantime, rehabilitation work on EDSA is possibly set to begin next week, but motorists are already raising concerns. The details in this report.
On Monday, vehicles were seen backed up along EDSA southbound near Guadalupe Bridge. Night traffic is also already getting heavier due to ongoing roadwork. And it could get worse once the rehabilitation possibly begins next week.
Unahin namin siya isaktually dito sa may Pasay to after Guadalupe. Yung section na yan muna para in time for the ASEAN meeting. Yun ang gagawin namin northbound and southbound.
Traffic management plans are being finalized with the MMDA and the Department of Transportation to minimize disruption. But motorists are already worried about traffic congestion and delays.
Traffic po niya dapat wag muna. Saka rehabilitation, ano yan, bubungkalin lahat? Oo. Hindi ba pwedeng kuwan na lang yan, yung ano yun? Yung spal twin na lang?
Malamang lahat ng shortcut na dadaanan, traffic na rin yan.
Naapektuhan yung pag-deliver namin. Ibig na makapag-deliver kami ng marami, sa sobrang traffic, mababawasan yung deliver namin.
To help ease traffic, the MMDA has asked the Supreme Court to reinstate the no-contact apprehension policy, but the court has not yet issued a decision. Meanwhile, the Land Transportation Office is working with the MMDA to utilize CCTV cameras along EDSA to monitor accidents and traffic issues. As of now, there is no official announcement from the MMDA on the final traffic management plan or alternative routes for when the EDSA rehabilitation starts. For News 5, Gerardo La Peña, we are One News.
The Department of Agriculture is eyeing the expansion of the 20 peso rice program to Mindanao. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr. said they plan to implement the expansion in July this year. This phase will target provinces with high poverty rates including Zamboanga del Norte, Basilan, Cotabato City, Tawi-Tawi, Maguindanao, Davao Oriental, and Sorsogon. Phase 3 is scheduled for September and will include Sultan Kudarat, Lanao del Norte, Catanduanes, Agusan del Sur, Sarangani, and Dinagat Island. This program, known as Benting Bigas Meron Na, has already launched in Cebu, NCR, and select regions.
Meanwhile, country that there will be no major supply issues with chicken meat, but warned of a possible short-term gap. This follows plans to ban imports from bird flu-affected Brazil, the Philippines' largest chicken exporter. DA Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr. says other countries can supply chicken to offset the ban. However, he cautioned that this supply gap could last up to 2 weeks. Tiu Laurel also said consumers should expect a slight increase in prices. Brazil recently reported a case of highly pathogenic avian influenza from a commercial farm.
Now let's discuss the country's chicken supply with Farmers Group SINAG President Rosendo So. Welcome to News and Views. Good morning po, sir.
Yeah, magandang umaga po.
So ano po bang magiging epekto po nitong ban na ito sa Brazil, knowing ang Brazil po ang isa sa mga top importers po ng manok?
Yeah, so far naman enough naman ang ating local supply. Continuous naman ang production natin. Ang presyo ng live weight ngayon nasa 125, range from 120 to 125.
So ang importante naman kasi hindi talaga tayo mag-rely sa importation eh, 'di ba? Dapat talaga yung local supply natin yung mas mapalakas. But how is it kamusta po yung local supply po natin?
Yeah, marami pang pwede mag-expand. Dahil nakita naman natin na yung mga ibang poultry raiser huminto dahil sa yung price medyo masama last years, no? Yung last year bumaba ng almost 90 pesos ang live weight. So maraming naghinto na mag-alaga. So we hope na bumalik ulit para at least kung ma-maintain yung presyo na 120 to 125 na live weight, maraming babalik.
Medyo pwede pa, oo.
Given, sir, na yung nangyari nga sa Brazil, do you see even a slight impact sa prices sa merkado sa per kilo?
So far, nakita naman natin fluctuating ang price for the past month. Even yung mga ibang places tinamaan ng bird flu sa other countries, yung local producers natin kailangan na talagang may constant na buyer, and of course yung presyo mas maganda, stable, hindi yung fluctuating para at least hindi mag-surrender yung local producers.
Lastly, sir, I just want to ask po if nakikita naman po natin yung Department of Agriculture specifically doing its best po para naman po hindi magkaroon din man dito sa Pilipinas ng bird flu. Although this is not uncommon anymore, na we've already faced this already before. Pero are we seeing po mga mitigation po na ginagawa ng government on this?
Yeah, we think the secretary is doing well. And he has a communication with the raiser, not only the poultry raiser, mga hog and other industries. So wala tayong nakikitang problemas sa ngayon. So far, so good.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was Sinag President Rosendo So. Magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga.
Don't go away, we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. An investigation is underway into the alleged 1.4 billion peso land purchase by OWA during the tenure of former Administrator Arnel Ignacio. Here's our report.
Following the removal of Arnel Ignacio as administrator of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, an alleged malicious land purchase worth 1.4 billion pesos during his tenure in September 2024 has come to light. The 1.5-hectare property bought by OWA was intended to be used as a halfway house or residence for overseas Filipino workers. But construction could not proceed because it is too close to the runway of NAIA Terminal 1. Apart from the location, the purchase was also not approved by the Board of Trustees. This is according to PY Kaunan, who succeeded Ignacio as OWA administrator.
The 1.4 billion that they're saying, it did not come from the trust fund. So it's with the government budget, no, the GAA. So yung intact po yung pera ng trust fund.
Ignacio is now under investigation. Also being probed is OWA Deputy Administrator Emma Sinclair. The two allegedly doctored land documents at the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Registry of Deeds to make the transaction appear as a capital gains tax payment, thus lowering the taxes paid to 84 million pesos.
My assurance, as I said, no, we will undergo the necessary audit and investigation in OWA. We will protect the funds of OWA. We will make sure that there will be policies issued and not lang issued, but siguro reissued and emphasize even more the zero tolerance for corruption.
In a statement, Ignacio said he is coordinating with his lawyer and will face any allegations. According to Malacanang, the former OWA chief has been interviewed by the Deputy Executive Secretary for Legal Affairs. For its part, a group of overseas Filipino workers called on OWA to release the audit report and punish those responsible.
All right, with that comes to an end our Tuesday episode. And before we let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. From Martin Luther King.
True that.
True that. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunzan Castro.
Millennial. I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.